rise and unite, fueling the passion, igniting the light. Through highs and lows, we'll stand as one. A legacy, a tale that's just begun. Together we roar, together we roar. Detroit Lions will rise, with a heart full of dreams and the fire in our eyes. From the past to the future, we'll claim our own. In the home of the brave, we'll proudly have grown. So let's lift our voices, let's turn it up loud. For the love of the Lions, we'll always be proud.
All right. Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Another late start. I apologize, but good morning to everybody that stuck around. It is 8:12 a.m. It is the official pregame breakdown show today. We're going to get into the Jaguars offense, defense, Lions offense, defense. We're going to do a little bit of both. And then tonight, special guest Justin Treese is going to be joining the show. He is a Jaguars expert, Talking Football podcast, a group of guys that will be joining us here soon and doing some special work on the other channels. So we get our first taste of what's coming up tonight. Should start somewhere between 7:30 and 8 o'clock this evening. So pay attention to that. It should be up already on the YouTube. So if you want to get a notification, just slide that bell over and get your notification so you know when we go live. And then today at noon, join us for the raffles. We're going to get all the raffles done and out of the way and get reset for the second half of the season. Good morning, Eric. How you doing today?
I'm fantastic, man. I'm looking forward to your show this evening because finding stuff on the Jaguars is just about impossible. So to have a Jaguars expert on, man, that's going to be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, he's a football expert. I mean, these guys over there Talking Football podcast really do an excellent job. I've had an opportunity to listen to quite a bit, and I'll let them explain who they are and what they do. But it'll be interesting to blend and bring in, different groups of guys. So you're going to have all sorts of different type of information coming from, left and right. Hold on a second. My mic is low. What's going on with my mic?
Oh, they said I was really loud. I thought I was loud too. I think my slider got moved.
Yeah, mine got moved. I don't know why. Should be good now.
There, is that better for my mic? Mine was way above Unity there. So
let me just double check the back end real quick.
Oh, I'll check mine too. I'm good.
Yeah, yours is good. Mine wasn't for some reason. All right. Anyway, so you're going to get a lot of different information. When you watch different guys that come from different areas of the world, they watch different teams. They have different perspectives. So the goal is to have a very high level overview show that is going to give you information from all over the league and their respective teams, including Lions. So if you love football, if you love NFL, and you just want to listen to people talking football, this is going to be the spot to be on the other channel. We're going to have all different types of guests and people in and people that they bring to the table too. So it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be real fun. And a big shout out to Riley O'Brien, who's been a big part of bringing us together and making it happen. So big shout out to Riley O'Brien this morning.
Yeah. I'm pumped up for it, man. I can't wait, especially hearing this Jaguars guy, because there is just not a whole lot of Jaguars news out there.
They're having a rough season, I mean, I think that even though Lions fans, Lions writers, Lions media have always done an excellent job covering the team, no matter if we're down, if we're up, if we're, terrible, which we've been for decades, prior to the last few seasons, we've always done a good job at trying to cover, who we are. Doesn't mean that there's any less information, I would say, out there, but for some reason, it's just like maybe the Jaguars don't have as good of a media presence, possibly.
Well, that's the thing. Like when you go to YouTube, like me, and I watch every podcast from every team that we go to play against, and I can't find any Jaguars podcasts, it's pretty sad. Like fan-driven podcasts like ours.
Yeah, absolutely. What did I just see something in here? Man, Bo, I appreciate you sharing that this morning about your wife, Sherry. That's my heart pours out for you, man. Really does.
Oh, what happened?
I don't want to say it. I mean, I know he put it in there, but I don't really want to say it. But unless he gives me permission to say it. But yeah, it surrounds cancer, and
okay.
yeah, man, that's rough, dude. It's part of the reason why I'm trying to do what I'm doing here is because people like you, people like others that have been affected personally, or people in your family. So yeah, hearts with you this morning, Bo. Absolutely.
Yeah. My stepdad just got home day before yesterday from Marquette General. He had one of his kidneys removed because they found out he had kidney cancer.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So one of his kidneys they had to completely remove, and hopefully they got it all, and hopefully he's on the path to recovery.
Yeah. I can't. I hate cancer, man. I absolutely hate it. I know seems like it's something so easy to say that you hate it, but I mean, I truly do hate it. I mean, hate's a strong word. I don't try to use it a whole lot, but yeah.
But it seems to hit just about everybody. I don't get it. I don't know if it's something we're eating, we're drinking. I don't know what it is.
Well, you'll probably find out when I launch the new podcast after the season, Cancer Sucks. We'll be talking about a lot of that. I'll be doing a medical podcast. I'm not a doctor, no, but we're going to bring in some people talking about the medical industry and things like that too. And we'll see where it goes. I'm going to try not to go all doom and gloom, but man, there's so many things I'm disappointed with. But let's talk football this morning. Let's talk Jaguars. Let's talk these Lions. Eric, do you want to start with anything right off the get this morning? Otherwise, I'm going to jump right into some news and some things that are flying around right now.
Okay, so since I've been doing it the last couple of days, I have a trivia question for everyone. Now, you're not allowed to look it up. You got to use your brain, not your computer, not your phone, okay? Who wore number 92 in 2001 for the Detroit Lions?
God, 92 in 2001.
He's a big boy. That's all I'm going to say. This is a tough one. This is very tough. But once I say who it is, you're going to be like, oh.
I can see the face. I can't see the name.
Yeah.
I can see the face right now. He was an interior defensive lineman. He was a defensive tackle. He was over 340 pounds, maybe.
In 2001, Big Papa. And there's a bunch of people getting it right away.
Oh, my God.
In the chat.
Baby face.
Yeah, you're saying the right. The first word is your clue.
I can see the face.
Okay, you just said baby face. That first word that you said is your biggest clue.
Oh, whatever. I'll let you guys get it.
Who's big baby?
So I found this interesting yesterday. And I don't know if Taylor Decker meant this in the way that it came off to me. I mean, maybe you guys will have a different opinion on this. But before I say this, I did see the clickbait yesterday about Derek Barnes potentially coming back and Aiden Hutchinson coming back. Yeah. So the real story is Derek Barnes says it's slim to none that he's coming back. He's not going to not hold out hope that he, can't come back because the ACL was intact, but the PCL and MCL were not. He's not coming back. I mean, he even said it himself, slim to none that he's going to be able to make any sort of a return, which sucks. But let's be honest. I mean, do you want a guy coming back after having to rush to get himself back, not playing in any meaningful games, not getting any meaningful snaps? Do you really think he's going to be that good on the field for us? Probably not. You're going to want to roll with the hot hand. You're going to want to roll with the guys that are playing at a high level, and that is not going to be Derek Barnes at that time. Same would apply to Aiden Hutchinson. I don't care how good you are. We've seen it. I don't care if you're the best wide receiver in the league. You go down with an ACL, it will take you time to get yourself back. We've seen guys that we've gone up against this year. I've called it out, whether it was, a running back or a wide receiver. I said, look, this is their first game back from injury. They're not going to play well, and they don't. And they don't because they have to go in and relearn, and have confidence in that injured area of their body of taking a hit, delivering hits, getting tackled, cutting, whatever, it is on the field. It takes a few games. Hell, it might take a half a season. Like we've seen with J-Mo. It took him quite a bit to finally get confidence, at least from what I took from it. that it took quite a bit for him to gain some confidence back in what he was able to do on the field. Well, it definitely wasn't his first season. And I would say it wasn't his second season that he, had great confidence. He's got his most confidence this year. The confidence for me happened with JMO. If you guys remember the play, it was, I forget the game now. He went up, and when he came down, he landed on the sideline and like hyperextended both of his legs backwards over. And then he just he army crawled off the field. And then he was kind of running up and down the sideline. And it was that point, I think he was like, oh, I'm good. Like, it didn't hurt. I'm okay. He was freaked out. You could tell he's immediately freaked out. He thought that he re-injured himself. That was the moment I think JMO got his confidence. That was probably week 11, 12, somewhere in that range last season.
I think it was the Dallas game.
Might have been. Yeah. My memory's for crap lately.
I would tell people this too. Look at James Houston last year in the NFC Championship game. He rushed back, got in for the NFC Championship game. What did he do?
I'm sorry, who was that?
James Houston. What did he do in the NFC Championship game?
Yeah,
nothing.
And CJ Gardner-Johnson too. And that, so you got two different factions. You got broken bones, you've got ligaments. Yeah, they're all involved. And I just saw Bo Booth was saying too about bones heal faster than ligaments and tendons. But the thing with Aiden, man, is that's all involved. I mean, that was the bones were completely cut. That's all that stuff's involved. Look, I'm not trying to be doom and gloom this morning. It's just not happening, guys. It's not, and I don't think it would be a smart move. I really don't. But that's why I'm not the GM either. I mean, that's the decision I would make. I would just shut it down. I wouldn't even talk about it. I would just shut it down and say, look, we'll see you next year. Go get healthy. We're going to roll with what we're rolling with. And that's just how I would be. That's just who I am. I'd rather have a brighter future than maybe half a game from somebody and they get re-injured again. I'd hate to see that. Yep. I would feel terrible about ruining someone's career.
The only thing though is if it's the Super Bowl, you're going balls out. I mean, you are going, it doesn't matter if someone gets hurt in that game. I mean, they don't have to play the following week.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, when you come back from an injury like Aiden's coming back from, if he re-injures that same leg, I mean, what's the likelihood that he's then done? You know what I'm saying? If you re-break it, I mean, that could cause way more problems for him a second time around. That would be his third broken leg in 5 years.
They're saying that leg's going to be stronger and it's going to have metal plates in it, so it'll be almost impossible to break.
I don't know. I hate the word impossible because everything's possible.
Yeah.
Like impossible, I'm possible, right? Everything's possible. So anyway, Taylor Decker, where I started with, I don't know if he meant this the way that it came out. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about already. Love Taylor, love what he's all about, but he said yesterday he felt personally responsible for the first half of the game on Sunday. Did you hear this?
Yes, I did. And
what did you think? What did you think right away when he said that?
Personally, I love it because that is someone on our team, even though it's not his fault, taking responsibility for the actions of our team, even when he wasn't there. And it was because he wasn't there and he felt bad because he wasn't there. And the coaches kept him out. He wanted to play.
Yeah.
And
well, I guess the thing for me is here's what I took from it. I'm not saying he was throwing shade at Skip, but that's what it sounded like to me. Like he was throwing shade at Skip.
A little bit, yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like he felt he was personally responsible because he wasn't in the game and Skipper was getting his butt kicked. At least that's what we saw in the beginning. The stats don't show that. The stats show that Graham Glasgow had the worst game, even though the stats really don't show that either. The grade shows that. The stats don't show that.
But was Graham trying to help Skipper, and that's why he had such a bad game.
Bingo. So Graham was trying to play two positions. He was trying to help Skip, and at the same time, he was losing control of his assignment. So they overpowered us on that side of the offense, or on that side of the offensive line. So anyway, he says, I felt personally responsible for the first half of the game, and I'm not saying that jokingly. Like I felt really bad, even though I know it was my best interest and the team's best interest to sit that one out. Just when you're not out there with your guys, especially when it's guys that you've played with as much as I've played with some of these guys on offense, yeah, it's a guilty feeling. So again, I'm not putting words into Taylor's mouth, but it just kind of sounded like he felt that if he was in the game, we wouldn't have had that much difficulty on the offensive line, or at least on that side of the offensive line. I'm not so sure. I mean, that was a tough defense that we faced versus the Texans. Very tough.
Oh, that was the best defense we've played all year, bar none.
Could have been. And you know what? If they had Will Anderson in there, it definitely would have been. Yeah. And I don't think that we escaped that game with a W if Will Anderson's in the game.
I'm saying the way they played.
Oh, they thrashed us, man.
The way they played, they were the best defense to play us all season. They played better against us than anyone. They had a plan for everything.
Brent Layton. Jeez, oh, Pete's Brent, you guys.
Yeah, these guys are lighting up in the chat this morning, by the way.
I'm gonna leave that one alone.
Yeah. I do like that Broski says we're gonna win by 30 this weekend.
We could. Broski, I still would love to get you on during the Chicago week if you feel like coming on, man. Because I would really like to know what's going on, with some Chicago fans right now, what they're thinking about Caleb Williams, because the what I'm hearing is there's some inside locker room issues, and there's even some veterans on the team that are calling for Badgett to start playing.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there's a little bit of drama going on in Chicago, and I'm not saying your season's lost, but I'm just going to go ahead and say your season's probably done. And it is what it is. This is what happens with rookie quarterbacks. I hate to even go off on a tangent this morning, but I'm going to do it. Yeah. This is what happens with rookie quarterbacks. And if you've listened to me over the last couple of seasons, especially the last two drafts, when Lions fans kept crying and wanting nothing more than the Lions to draft a first-round quarterback, I said, pump those brakes. This is what the stats say. The stats say it takes a rookie quarterback 2.5 seasons on average to have a winning season and make a playoff game as a wild card. And even then, they usually lose the first game, the first playoff game. The only quarterbacks that were ever different than that were Jared Goff and Lamar Jackson, and I think Patrick Mahomes. Actually, I think Patrick also took 2.5 seasons. There was only 3, maybe 4 quarterbacks like in the last 10 or 12 seasons that have done it any differently than that have taken any less time or really bent that trajectory down and played at a high level. Lamar, yeah, I think he got lucky in his first season, but what has he really done since he's been in the league? Yeah, he's thrown for a bunch of numbers. He's gotten in the playoffs. He's been on pretty good teams. But he really hasn't taken the team all the way yet, and he probably never will.
Have they won a playoff game with Lamar?
Yeah, Lamar definitely has won a playoff game.
Has he?
I'm most positive. If he hasn't, then I would be really surprised.
I think they won one last year.
Hold on, let me look.
Yeah.
Most positive. He's 2-4.
2-4, okay.
2-4, yeah. So even that, I mean, I don't even know how long he's been in the league, since 2018. So he's been around, this will be his, 7th season?
Yeah.
And so he's been to 4 playoff games. It was a 2018 AFC wild card round to Los Angeles Chargers. They lost that. They lost the AFC divisional round to the Titans in 2019. They won the AFC wild card round against the Titans. Then they lost in the divisional round to the Buffalo Bills in 2020. And then they lost the AFC wild card round to the Cincinnati Bengals. So if I'm reading this correctly, they probably had a first round bye in 2019. I'm just guessing, because then they lost their first game to the Titans. In 2018, they lost wild card. 2022, they lost the wild card. In 2020, they won the wild card, then lost the divisional round. So, I mean, that's just not a great set of stats for a quarterback taken high in the draft. I don't remember exactly where Lamar was drafted.
He was number 32.
He was the last pick in the first round?
Yeah, they moved back up to get him because that way they could have the 5th-year option on him.
So that wasn't so bad then. I mean, for what production you're getting out of Lamar Jackson, at least he wasn't a top 5 pick or top 10 pick. You're talking, they moved up so they could get the 5th-year option, but that's a much better set of circumstances for what he's done then. I'll give him his flowers for that. But everybody else that's been taken in the first round, they just really haven't panned out. I mean, very few have panned out. And Jared Goff has like the 2nd best playoff stats, including Super Bowl appearance, next to Patrick Mahomes in that same time span. I think Joe Burrow was the only other one that was even close, and he just hasn't done much lately. And that team's, obviously got its own issues, but we are way off target right now.
Hey, we have some absolutely amazing breaking news right now. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready for it.
Well, Broski Bear says he will call in on Thanksgiving week.
Perfect, Broski. Appreciate it. I'm going to hold you to it.
And he says that a little drama in Chicago, laugh out loud, Caleb really needed to sit for a season, in his opinion.
See, man, who did they have last year? Why am I forgetting?
What does more damage to Caleb Williams? Letting him play out the season, no matter what, or benching him for a while and letting Badgett play? I almost would rather see Badgett play right now, because I would like to see the Bears actually beat the Packers for once. That would be super stellar. That'd be awesome. I'd love to see it.
Brent DeWitt says in here, could you imagine what MCDC would do if he saw a wide receiver choking out his long snapper? That's what happened with the Bears. Was it last weekend?
No. That was the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, the 49ers.
It was Debo with his long snapper and his punter. He got into it with him.
I mean, I would probably say that MCDC would probably shit can the dude. Doesn't even care who he is.
Yep.
I wouldn't even be surprised if he went that far with it. That stuff just doesn't. It's not going to happen on this team. That stuff just doesn't happen. A lot of drama, man. A lot of drama. Yeah, we got the drama with Richardson too. Richardson, in my opinion, is just a big baby.
He's coming back.
He's coming back.
They named him the starter for the rest of the season now. So
this isn't the UFC. You don't tap out of a football. Hey, coach, I'm done. I'm tired. I need to go get some water. Got to go poop. I'm done. Take me out. This is not the UFC, man. Good light. And speaking of UFC, big fight this weekend. Mike Tyson and Fake Paul. I really hope that Iron Mike is not going to disappoint people like me that love the sport of boxing, used to box at a young age, boxed Golden Gloves in my younger years, had my windpipe crushed, hence the tone issues that I have from time to time. I'm hoping that Iron Mike does not disappoint. I want Fake Paul out of this boxing industry. It's just a money grab. They're extremely good at what they do, with marketing and advertising. That's all this is a money grab for them. They are shaming the hell out of boxing. Boxing is losing its luster. I want Fake Paul out. I can't stand it.
Iron Mike's 58, and he's going to crush him. I don't care. The kid doesn't know his head from his what. And I have multiple bets with multiple zeros at the end on that fight. So Tyson, crush him. Kick him like a can down the road, man. First round knockout, one punch, done, over with.
Man, I just hope that Iron Mike's ready, because he's battled so much. He had a broken back. He's got back issues. The ulcer thing. I mean, I didn't know an ulcer could get that bad, but he put him in a wheelchair for like a couple of days. But anyway, I want to see Mike watch, and I think we're going to live stream it. So Friday night, I think I'm going to live stream it, and I'm not going to be able to put the fight on, but
Is it on Friday or Saturday?
I think it's Friday, right? Isn't it the 15th? I think it's Friday night.
Friday 15th. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I'm gonna watch it live, and it's on Netflix, right? I don't think we have to pay for anything. It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, so everyone should be able to watch it. There's no reason for me to put it on. I mean, if you don't have Netflix, then I don't know what's wrong. Spend the $15, get Netflix for a night. So yeah, we'll plan on doing that tomorrow night. We'll have some fun with it, even though it doesn't belong on this channel. We'll still have some fun with it. Anyway, so back to Decker here. Decker said that he's been dealing with a few minor injuries in recent weeks. The rotator cuff injury happened during practice last week. Rotator cuff, that's not good. It also knocked him out of action against the Texans. He hopes to keep his absences to a minimum, even if the smarter play might be to sit out and he be a healthy scratch for the team. Obviously, that's a much better opportunity for the Lions downstream, right? You want to make sure that we're as healthy as we can be leading up to December and January football. Another quote here, ultimately, if you leave it up to the player, 9 times out of 10, they're going to play, even if they shouldn't, is what Decker said. And every game's important to him. He says, I mean, we only get to play 17, and all things are pointing to us being in the playoffs, of course. You know, the other thing that he said, and I'm going to bring in the audio of the media yesterday. I want to take a little bit of time going through that, is that he told the training staff early, look, you've got to save me from me because I want to be in there no matter what I'm facing. I want to be in there. That fortitude, right? I love it. I love that about Taylor Decker. And that's why I'm so hesitant to, you know, ever put Taylor Decker in a box like he can't do something. Yeah, he's had his battles this year. He's been battling some injuries. Maybe he hasn't been the best Decker, you know, or best version of Decker that he can be, but he's still head and shoulders above anything else that we have on this team right now. And I still think that he's head and shoulders above half the league. Maybe his stats aren't the greatest, but I would much rather have the continuity, you know, of this offensive line versus anything else, because that to me means more than you know, just bringing in another top draft pick that is going to have to learn how to play with these guys. I mean, these guys are all in together. They're all family men. They spend all their time together with their kids, you know, after practice, after the game. They are a unit. You know, they are an extension of family. They're a family unit. The offensive line guys are just a different kind of breed of human. And that continuity means everything to the offensive line. So I really appreciate the hell out of Taylor Decker and what he's trying to say. But I kind of thought he was throwing a little shade at Skip, but probably not intentionally. He just felt that maybe he could have done a better job because of the fact that they've been playing together for so long. So any final thoughts on that?
He's the ultimate pro. He's been at it forever. He basically playing at a Pro Bowl level, and then you have your backup come in. So of course he's going to think that he should have been out there playing and he would have done better. I believe he would have done better, and we probably would have still won the game, but I think it would have been a little bit easier of a win had Decker been out there.
Yeah, I agree. Here's some notes by Dan Campbell. So in the media sessions, I believe this was on November 11th, so a few days ago, Dan Campbell made a statement about what they need to improve on and what he felt the most important thing was for this team to improve on. And it's a term that I use very often, efficiency. To me, efficiency means more than anything, right? I've always been the kind of guy that I always try to find the shortest, but the path that makes the most sense, that, you know, is the most fruitful to whatever you're doing, whatever it's sales, or I don't care what, it cut the freaking lawn, for God's sakes. I don't care what it is. Maybe that's OCD. I don't know. It's always finding the most efficient way to do something. And he said this, throughout the first 8 weeks of the season, or 9 weeks of the season, whatever it was, what did he look back at, and what is he looking forward to finish out the season? And the key term was efficiency. Quote, I want to feel like we can get our efficiency back offensively. Look, when we've been efficient in spurts, and I'm not even talking about where you're scoring touchdowns every time, you just want to know you are getting out there converting first down. At least you're moving the football because it gets us in a rhythm. I think that's important, and some of that is the fundamentals and details of what you do. Now, what he's talking about there, obviously fundamentals are key. You want to make sure that you're sticking to the plan, right? And staying tight within your details, making sure that you're covering your assignments, you're sticking to your gap assignments, but it's the little fine details of everything that you do that is going to help this team be efficient. What he didn't say, and what I think he probably wants to say, but maybe he's not going to, play calling. Because I think a large part of the efficiency has been lacking due to play calling at times. At times we see Ben Johnson completely being the mixologist that I love him being. He's pulling things out left and right that you're not seeing, nobody's seeing, and it's going the distance. It's going for big yards. It's, you know, it's the little things that we do that put us into position early. All right, my heater just kicked on. Can you guys let me know if you can hear my heater running?
A little bit.
If you can hear it, I'm gonna go shut it off.
Okay. Yeah, when you're talking, I can hear it.
All right, let me go turn it off. I didn't put batteries in the remote, so.
So if anyone did not hear the answer to the trivia question earlier, who wore number 92 in 2001? It was Big Baby Sean Rogers.
Oh yeah, Sean Rogers. See, I couldn't come up with the name. I had the baby face.
That's why I kept saying baby.
I could see it, but I just couldn't get the name out.
It was a tough one. That was a tough one.
So anyway, back to what I'm saying. It's efficiency that Dan Campbell wants to see improve the most for the rest of the season. And for me, I feel like it's play calling. I feel like Ben has been a little stubborn at times, or maybe a little gun shy at times. Look, he's got to be able to let Jared Goff go back and rear it up and just throw that ball. We got to get these guys back on their heels when they're trying to press. I guess I got 40 seconds. Eric, say something for 40 seconds.
All right. Jags fans, they are already planning to talk about right now this week after this game. What are they planning on? They're not planning on winning this game, the Jags fans. The Jags fans are planning on talking about who they're going to take with the number 1 overall pick instead of talking about winning this game. That is seriously what they're talking about on enemy lines. That's the only thing I could really dig up, was that they are talking about the Hunter kid. Let's see if I can find it here.
Travis Hunter.
Yeah, Travis Hunter. You know,
the Jags have the number 1 pick right now.
Yeah. So as of right now, the pick, Travis Hunter from Colorado, he's a wide receiver, cornerback combo. Someone to go with Trevor Lawrence and could work both sides of the field, be a modern day, Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
And the Jaguars appear destined for organizational change, be it head coach Doug Peterson or general manager Trent Baalke. Regardless of who makes this pick, Hunter fits. He's an elite two-way talent with the athleticism, ball skills, and the instincts to impact the NFL game at both receiver and cornerback. This season, he's recorded 69 catches for 856 yards and 9 touchdowns while making 21 tackles and 2 interceptions. If Jacksonville has a new regime, Hunter is a strong way to start. So doesn't this remind you of what we used to do this time of year? It's not even Thanksgiving, and they are already talking about the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah. This Thanksgiving always seemed to be, it always seemed to be early Christmas for us when we're talking about the Lions and what's going to happen in the draft. It was always, we were usually mathematically eliminated, either by this point or very close to Thanksgiving. We are already out for many, many, many years. To hear another team, and I mean, there's been plenty of teams that have to go through that every year, but to hear another team, having that same, I guess, idea that, the best part of their season right now is looking forward to next year. Mm-hmm. I can't say that I'm disappointed that it's not us, because that's it's such a gut punch to have to deal with it year in and year out and be the, just be the downtrodden Lions that we were for so long. And you know what? Let's be honest. It can come back. Like, it's not like it can't come back. If you want to go out and spend lavishly and make foolish decisions with your cap and draft capital and trades, and look, we can be right back in the same situation that we were. So we have to be careful. Like, if we keep calling for people's heads and, saying that we're making mistakes by not bringing in players, and Brad Holmes finally cracks and gives in, which he'll never do, then yeah, we could be right back into the same situation we were before. And I just don't see it happening. I really don't. I don't see Brad Holmes cracking to fan pressure. He hasn't yet. He had plenty of opportunity to do it, but he hasn't yet.
Yeah. In this league, there's not a huge difference between 1-16 and 16-1. The personnel and the people, it's just not that big of a difference. And we are not that far removed from being in this exact same boat. I can remember, can we just play a meaningful game in December? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're not that far removed from our GM, or not our GM, but our ownership saying we just want to play meaningful games in December.
Well, back in 2022, and we're finishing out that season, and it was like, man, we were just hanging on by a string. And I was probably one of the only guys during that time that felt like when the Lions were 1-6, that they still had a chance. And everyone's like, nope, it's never happened. No team has really ever done that. And I'm like, it can. I mean, if you look at where we're headed and what's in front of us, we can still get there. And man, we were there. We were literally a half a game out. The Seahawks game is what hurt us. Both Seahawks games, I think, is what hurt us that year. The one we lost. Oh wait, what did we play the Seahawks that year? 22. No, yeah. it was a Seahawks game that they won that night by, I don't know, 4 or 5 different ref issues. But yeah, to me, it's like you're finally getting an opportunity in 2022. You have a chance to go into Lambeau and do something, either knock them out or knock yourself in if the Seahawks lose. And it didn't happen. But at least that was the first time I can say this is a meaningful game. We're finally playing late in the season. And then it turned around the next year in 2023. We're like, holy cow, we're going to the playoffs. And not only that, it's going to be a home game. And that was the first time for for many of us that have been watching the Lions for this long that actually had an opportunity to see meaningful games. So that's a spot on point.
Yeah.
What else did you have this morning before we dive into some other things?
Yeah. So right now the Jags are 2-8, right? Well, I wanted to dig in and find out, do they really have hope? Is this truly a trap game for the Detroit Lions?
Love that trap game.
Yeah, I do. But listen, there's a reason I talk about it. And let me see here. So this is a little story by Jeff Risdon. And before I read this little story, I want to tell you something about the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars started last season 2-6. Okay, not 2-8. They started 2-6, and they worked their way back to 9-8, got second place in the division, and made the playoffs. So don't count this team out. They have a coach that has been there before. He's done it before. This team.
Doug Peters is the Super Bowl winner, yeah.
Yeah, he's won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. And then listen, his first year, just like the Lions' first year with Dan Campbell, they went 3-14. We went 3-13-1. And then he went 9-8, made the playoffs and lost. Went 9-8, made the playoffs and lost. And now, or last year they missed the playoffs. And now this year they're starting out 2-6. So everyone thought they were kind of paralleling us for the last couple of years, that they were going to have this big meteoric rise and they were going to be awesome. And that's why I think this could possibly be the first real trap game that we are going to encounter this year. And Jeff Risdon talked to Jared Goff. And this is a little bit of the story that they had to talk about.
Let me make a quick comment before you read that story. So what you're saying is, they're 2-6 last year. They limped into the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now they're 2-8 right now. And you're saying that there's still hope for the playoffs?
I think not so much playoffs, but I think that's what gives them hope that they can turn a season around, because they've been there and they've done it.
Yeah. So for me, the only way that they're going to make the playoffs is if they win their division. Because there's too many other good teams right now in the AFC that would prevent them, being the second, or the runner-up in their division to be able to make. But if you look at their schedule, the Titans are beatable, the Raiders are beatable, the Jets are beatable, the Titans are beatable again, the Colts are beatable. There's 5 out of the next 7 games that they're playing that they could potentially win.
Yeah,
and that would only get them to 7 and whatever. So they would really have to win out to even have a shot. They'd have to win out.
And that's what they're talking about in Jags land. The coach, the players, they're talking, we need to win out. We need to win every game from here on out. And we believe that we can do it.
Well, that's why when the Lions win this weekend, they're mathematically done.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, go for it.
So Risdon, this is what he wrote. If the season ended after week 10, the Detroit Lions would be the number 1 seed in the NFC postseason. Their week 11 opponent, the Jacksonville Jaguars, would have the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft for 2025. Coming off an emotional road win in Houston against the AFC South leading Texans on Sunday night, there is a natural thought that playing the worst team in the league to this point, in Detroit no less, could be a proverbial trap game. The Lions are aware of the trap game phenomena. However, quarterback Jared Goff doesn't seem too concerned about this particular edition of the 8-1 Lions failing prey to looking past the 2-8 Jaguars. And this is what Goff had to say. Yeah, we've got a mature group. There's not much that needs to be said. Goff told reporters on Wednesday, we have our own standards that regardless of who we're playing, regardless of what their record is, we have our own things that we want to prove and improve on. And I think that's the biggest battle right now, is to continue to improve and know we need to improve, even though we're able to win some of these close games. And then he went on to say, obviously last week wasn't as explosive as we wanted it to be. So yeah, getting that back on track, I think that's absolutely right. And it starts this week for us. And I think a weak secondary for the Jaguars is exactly where we start this week.
Well, I don't think that we're going to lose this game. I don't even think it's going to be close.
Yeah.
I really don't. I think the Jags are up against it. You know, they lose this weekend, they're done. Yep. It is what it is. And it'd be interesting to hear, you know, what Tree says tonight, because, you know, when you're a fan of a team, you're always going to hold out hope, right? Many of us do. I have a feeling that Treese is probably more realistic and going to bring forth, you know, good energy and good conversation about his team and about what he realistically sees. We'll see, though. This will be my first conversation with him, so it'll be interesting how it goes and get to learn, you know, a little bit more about him and the Jaguars. I mean, it's a team that I don't really follow a whole lot. Now, I was a fan of the Jags, so very early when they became an expansion team, I was in North Carolina quite a bit around you know that time, and Carolina and Jacksonville were, I think, were actually pretty decent. Matter of fact, one of the other teams was making a really good run, and I just happened to be in Carolina a lot during that time. My mom lives in North Carolina, and I followed them then, but really haven't since. You know, I just really haven't paid much attention. But now doing this, I got to kind of pay attention a little bit more as to what's going on. The next topic I want to talk about real quick is James Houston. So, no, we're not going to talk about Poopgate, but we are going to talk about is his resurgence. Now, I know a lot of fans were a little reluctant to think that James Houston had anything left to offer this team. He didn't get any snaps, you know, throughout most of the season. He was kind of working his way back, but I'm going to go back to what I started with early in this conversation today when we were just talking about injuries to Aiden and Derek Barnes. When you come back from a nasty injury, that is exactly why I use the analogies or you know, the framework around the injuries that we've already seen in the NFL and what it takes to come back from them. So a fractured ankle, broken ankle, you know, you obviously utilize a lot of that ankle and the foot as an edge to bend and get around, you know, offensive tackles, to push, to lean. It's one of the more critical pieces of your body, you know, that you need to play the game of football. It was just going to take time. And that's what I kept trying to temper everybody's, you know, maybe not temper. I guess I try to rise up everybody's expectations of James Houston, because it seemed like everybody was out. Like, he's not going to do anything. He's done. He's no good. He was a flash in the pan. And I'm like, well, wait a second. You know, the guy's coming back from a major injury. He hasn't had any snaps. He hasn't had any meaningful snaps to go in and to build his rhythm. So just like Dan Campbell talks about efficiency and building rhythm, look, all of that is very important, not only to your offense, but it's important to your defense. It's important to each player. They have to build a rhythm. They have to get their momentum going. They have to trust in what they are doing each and every day, and then how they feel that they're able to play the game. We've seen nothing from James but a continued rise the last couple of weeks. He had a really good game this last weekend. You know, he got a sack. He got some pressures. He affected the game. He was everywhere. And I thought that he played extraordinarily well, given from where he come from with this injury. It's only going to be I guess not so much longer, you know, that I think that we're going to watch James maybe struggle just a little bit. I think he's on his way to getting back to his old form. So I'm glad that the Lions didn't move off of him at the trade deadline. Clearly, Brad and Dan seen something in him, even though it seemed like early in the season, Dan was kind of writing him off a little bit if you read into some of the things that he said or didn't say about James Houston. We just didn't hear a lot about James Houston, and I think the answer is he's been working through it. And now I think it's starting to come back. And we're going to need him more than ever. And now that we have a guy like dariussmith on this team who's going to help this guy grow and develop, because we don't have Aiden to help him. We don't have Marcus Davenport to help him. But we do have dariussmith. And we've already seen the impact that he had on the defensive line this last weekend. So my stock is high on James Houston. It always has been. I never wrote the guy off. And if you have in the past, hopefully you get to change your tune on him shortly, because I think that he's going to have a really good game this weekend, especially against the Jaguars offense that might be a little bit easier to pick on. This could be the confidence game that James Houston needs. So he needs one big game to really kind of propel him into the, all right, I'm back. I can do it. I'm ready to go. So I got to step away for 2 seconds. Eric, what are your thoughts on James Houston?
Well, if you have not yet had a chance to watch the St. Brown podcast, the St. Brown Brothers podcast from yesterday, you need to go watch it. It was pretty darn funny, talking about Poopgate. And yeah, I'll just leave that at that. Must be if you mix green, yellow, and red Gatorade, it comes out brown colored. That's all I know. If you mix them all on the bench, that's the color they come out. And James Houston, he got 16 snaps in this last game. So I like seeing his snap count go up, because I think the game before he only had 8 snaps. So they've been working him in more and more and more the last couple of games. So it's nice to see. And I think that's the only way you're going to be able to build his confidence up, is if he has a game like he had on this last game, and then you slowly increase his reps. And then when he plays a team like the Jaguars, which seem to have a little bit better of an offensive line, they're not letting up a whole ton of sacks. So maybe this guy can finally crack that nut against a good offensive line. Not saying that the Texans had the worst offensive line, but they've had a lot of trouble on that offensive line for the Texans this year. Oh man, their guard play was absolutely horrific. So what are you guys thinking in the chat? Is James Houston going to have a big game against the Jags this week? Let's see here. Looking up to see what the lowest graded, highest
all right,
graded.
so I'm struggling here.
Yeah, that's all right.
I got a bloody nose.
Oh, that's no good.
Yeah, hematology yesterday, cancer center stuff yesterday, and yeah, my blood levels are off, so I got to cover it. So I'm gonna look stupid, but anyway, we're gonna get through it. We're gonna fight it through it.
There you go. Well, I was saying that James Houston had 16 snaps in this last game, so that's double his output from, I think, the game before where he had 8. And it's nice to see that he's finally getting some time now. With dariussmith coming back, is that going to affect Houston's snaps, or do you think he still gets about 16 or so?
No, I think he's going to have a hell of a lot more snaps in this game. But to that point, yeah, I think that with dariussmith getting in, he might be on a light pitch count, only because it's his first real week of getting some work in. I would say that if dariussmith has anything less than 50%, then I would be surprised. But I think that Houston will have a little bump this week. They're going to want to get this rotation working between him and Pascal and dariussmith and Onwuzurike, to really figure out where these guys are going to blend together. So this is a good opportunity right now. Let's pull in yesterday's media so I can give this a chance to heal up real quick.
Yep.
Let's pull in the media. There we go. Let's start with Jared Goff. And I'm going to go blank here. We'll listen, and then we'll be right back. I just saw no sound for some reason.
Yeah, nothing.
Interesting.
We also hit 60 likes. Get those darn ads turned off.
Yeah, give me just a second on that.
Yep.
Defense bring with a guy like Trayvon Walker.
All right, you got audio
Yeah, they're
now?
good. They're really good up front. They've got good players all over the place. I think they're very talented defense and are still putting things together. But we got a lot of respect for those players over there. We practiced against them a year or so ago, and seeing them up close and in person, they're a great team.
Some of these games is like trap games. You know, that you look at the team schedules. How do you, as the leader of this team, keep the guys motivated, locked in? Let's continue to handle our business in games that.
Yeah, we've got a mature group. There's not much that needs to be said. We have our own standards that, regardless of who we're playing, regardless of what their record is, we got our own things that we want to prove and improve on. And I think that's the biggest battle right now is us to continue to improve and know we need to improve, even though we're able to win some of these close games.
Jared, we talked to sharing your post-game conversation with him about being built different, right? And you've been on some really good teams. You know, last year, some in LA. Have you ever been on one place like this? I don't know if you want to put the aura of it.
Yeah, every team's different. I think my notion there was that the adversity we're built for is different than every other team in the league. And I think I said it after the game to the team, like it truly is. And there are a lot of good teams in our league, but it'd be hard pressed to find some who have been through what the core group of this team has been through. So in a game like that where you dig yourself in that big of a hole, knowing we're built for that and built to come back in those instances.
Jared, something we had talked to Scotty about is just getting David more into the passing game and opportunities and things that have led to that this year. What do you like about having him more available for that?
Yeah, he's got great hands. I think both those guys can do that. We throw it to Gibbs and him, and I thought the screen he caught the other day was a great play. But early on in the year, we were able to hit him on a couple checkdowns, and he was able to make some plays happen. So anytime we get the ball in either of those two guys' hands, but certainly in David's, it's a good thing.
Is there a point, even when the interceptions start to fall, obviously they were tipped and there were things that happened, but when a team like this, you can recognize that there's nothing that's really going to stop you guys other than yourselves, with all due respect to other opponents? Is that kind of the feeling you had even on Sunday?
Yeah, I think so. And that's a really good team, Houston is. But, I think we dug ourselves in about as big a hole as you can dig it and still have a chance to come back. And we knew when it was a 10-point game or whatever it was, 13-point game, we had a chance. We knew that. We knew it was a 2-score game, and felt good. We never really wavered, and I never wavered. I never lost confidence. Felt like I was seeing it well, but things didn't go our way for some of the day, and then that fourth quarter, we kind of figured things out.
Anything you learned about yourself that you can grow from that performance?
Those ones are hard. Those ones make you a better quarterback. And I think back to the Chicago game last year, when things kind of aren't going your way, and finding a way to win in the fourth quarter. And I feel like I became a better player through that, and mentally tougher and the whole thing. Yeah.
In that regard, once you've won the game, is that almost helpful to have won it that way for a team?
Yeah, sure. I think it was a very adverse game, win or lose. But yeah, being able to learn lessons on the winning side of things is certainly a lot easier. But yeah, I think either way, there's a million things that we can improve on, that I can improve on, that we're going to have to improve on if we want to continue on the trend we're in.
It seems so that you guys can do that on the fly.
I don't know about that. We got a lot of work to do, and today it started. I thought we worked really hard today, and we're intentional, and our walkthrough is great. And we are very intentional about not being fooled by being 8-1, and knowing that we've got a ton of things to improve on, and like I said, we have to.
This is
You're appreciative of the chance, the Jared Goff chance during the game. Yesterday there was a serious situation in the Pistons game with Tim Hardaway Jr. Chance broke out again. And just like, what are your thoughts on those things breaking out at times like that?
I've got no idea what you're talking about. I'm sorry.
This is a more so random question for me, but what relationship have you been able to build up with Davis Warren over at Michigan, and how have you helped mentor him?
Davis is awesome. I met him years ago. I might have been in high school. He was young at the late 11. Then I met him again when he was in high school, going through his stuff he went through in high school. And then I was out throwing with him years ago. We threw with the same trainer. And I was like, that kid's good. Who's that? And they're like, actually, he missed a year because of the leukemia, and now he's got to go to the prep school. And I'm like, shoot, man, whoever gets him is lucky to have him. And it's fun. I've texted back and forth with him. It's fun that we're both in the same state now, representing the teams we do. And yeah, I'm rooting for him. He's a good kid, and I root for him.
You mentioned how tough the Jaguars' defense can be, but you look at their last game, and it seemed like every drive that they played, it was either a field goal or a turnover that they'd force. Yeah. What do they do that gives offenses challenges? Yeah,
they had a great plan. They really did for Minnesota, and were able to create those turnovers and play really sticky man coverage most of the day. And yeah, they did a good job. Like I said, they've got really good players over there, and starting to put it together.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, man.
Cool. Thank you.
Whenever you.
All right. So, I mean, I don't think it's any different for Jared Goff from week to week to week. The one thing that I wanted to take away from this is when you ask Jared Goff questions about things that are not game related, not football related, not, the next opponent or the previous opponent that you just faced, look at his answer. I have no idea what you're talking about because it's not part of football. Like I'm here to play football. I'm here to get my team ready and stay in the game. I think that was Corey Woods that asked him the question, and I understand. He was trying to, I don't know, somehow get some sort of an answer out of Jared Goff, and I don't even know what this serious situation was during the game. I have no idea either. So either way, Jared Goff's locked in. You're not going to get this guy off of his game at all. But this is where I wanted to listen to Taylor Decker, and we'll just listen to Taylor Decker as the last one. And then we'll step off of this, and we got to get it's already after 9, so we have to start getting into the offense defense breakdown. And then I got one thing to talk about the last game, a unique situation that happened with a Texans offensive lineman that I don't know if any of us caught. So I want to talk about that. But let's listen to Taylor Decker, and you guys tell me, was he throwing shade at Skip, or was this more about his continuity level and just wanting to be in the game with his guys, fight with his brothers, and really felt like he could help us win or have a better opportunity, during the game. So let's listen to Taylor Decker here.
You have to, pull back the reins and sit one out.
I felt personally responsible for the first half of that game, and I'm not saying that jokingly. I felt really bad, even though I know it was in my best interest and the team's best interest to sit that one out. Just when you're not out there with your guys, especially when it's guys that you've played with as much as I played with some of these guys on offense. Yeah, it's a guilty feeling. It really is. So as soon as you can get back out there, that's one thing that's going to drive you to want to be back out there is when you don't get to be.
How did that feeling shift after the game?
Man, is it just me, or do they have some really loud background audio going on here? I don't. They've got to get this stuff figured out. It is so loud.
When the score flipped.
Of course, I want to see us win. I mean that's great. But it doesn't really change the fact that I wasn't out there with them, and that sucks. Not a good feeling. And again, I know it's just one game, and but they're all really meaningful. So yeah.
Maybe make you guys move forward.
I think obviously it's a beautiful thing that we were able to win that game when it seemed like the deck was stacked against us. I think it makes you go back and reflect, and this is easy for me to say as a guy who didn't play in the game, but let's not let winning overshadow us trying to improve or looking for areas to improve. And I don't think that's something that happened because sometimes you go out there and you have stretches where you just don't play well, and it's not because of lack of preparation or lack of want to. But I think it just kind of can recalibrate you and make you kind of not take that for granted, the preparation.
Taylor, you guys have such a good thing going right now. Is there a balance between the competitive side of you wanting to be out there, but knowing you need to be out there in January, February, or then week 10 against Jacksonville? Is there any fine line that you have to walk with that? I guess.
There's not a fine line I have to walk. I think that I leave that up to the medical staff, and I've told Brett and Mike since they've got there. If I'm being stupid, I need you to protect me from myself. And that's their job, and that's what they do. Because ultimately, if you leave it up to the player, 9 times out of 10 they're going to play even if they shouldn't. And every game's important to me. We only get to play 17, and all things are pointing to us being in the playoffs, of course.
Wrong answer, Decker. You get to play 20 to 21.
So I've had plenty of seasons where we don't get to, so every game's important to me. And I think, like I said, the biggest thing is when you're so used to being out there with your teammates and guys that you played a lot of football with, when you're not out there, it's just a shitty feeling. It doesn't feel good. So you want to be out there, whether it's week 10 and you're mathematically eliminated, or if it's week 10 and you're rolling. It doesn't change my desire to be out there and play.
As an observer, you've kept a book on NFC rushers for a long, NFC North rushers for a long time. You know Za'Darius very well. What is this team getting in him?
Well, first and foremost, I've always just liked him as a person. He's always been just like a cool guy. Not that I've talked at length with him, but just throughout the game and after the game, just saying what's up. I just liked him. And then as far as a rusher, I've always said he's got incredibly violent hands, and he was like that back when he was in Baltimore, and then we've obviously seen him for a while in our division here. Incredibly violent hands, powerful guy, and I think one thing is he's able to line up all across the field. You'll see him over the center, you'll see him over guards, and then tons of times you're going to be lining up one-on-one with a pass rush or offensive tackle. And then I think for him, he's kind of got some of that swagger, that confidence, because we got some young guys out there playing on the edge, and I think it was really cool. I stayed home for this past game, but seeing his engagement in the game on the broadcast, you can just tell he's super excited to be here, and I'm pumped to have him.
As an observer, how were you when Jake was lining up as the ball is delivered? Do you lean a little bit as the kick is there, or were you fully confident with his leg?
Oh, of course. We know he's got a big leg. It's almost like the farther back he is, the better he is. He wants to swing away at him, and we've seen him hit.
Did I not say the same thing earlier this season? It's like all the short kicks we were afraid of for Jake. But you put him out there at 50, like, I'm good. I think he's got it. The further back, just like Taylor said, man, the further back Jake Bates gets, the better he gets.
Some bombs in practice and obviously in games at this point. Pretty incredible for him. I mean, especially it was 2 kicks within like 5 minutes of clock time. Big time. I mean, that's some big time stuff, and I think he's from the Houston area, I believe, so pretty incredible. I mean, that's a guy that's kind of got ice in his veins and steps up to the plate when we need him.
Were you nervous watching that? Like, were you trying to lead it one way or the other as you watch it on TV?
Well, I was in bed and my wife was asleep, so I was just kind of trying to stay still, be quiet. So I did wake her up and told her we won. So she was like, "That's great," and went back to sleep.
The pass protection thing, just real quick. I don't think it's any major red flag or anything, but you guys have had given up a few sacks, or Jared's taken a few hits the last few weeks. Is there what do you need to correct, I guess, in that area going forward? Collectively as a unit.
I mean, there's a combination of winning your one-on-ones. There's a combination of passing off games, and then it's always going to be an entire offensive thing. So we need to be able to give the quarterback time if we, excuse me, I was going to sneeze. We need to be able to give the quarterback time if we want the ball out, and we got to give him a good pocket to be able to work in, because even if maybe you're engaged with your guy, but you're too close to him, he can't get the ball out on time, or he's going to hit his hand on your helmet. So it's a whole offensive thing, but for us up front, overall not up to our standard for sure.
Thanks, Taylor.
All right. So again, I apologize. I got a little medical thing this morning, bloody nose. So I'll just deal with it the best I can. I wanted to bring Taylor Decker in for a few reasons. One, I want to talk about Darius Smith for a moment, and then we're going to move on to the Jaguar stuff, and then one little tidbit from last weekend's game. Talking about Darius Smith in his violent hands, I think that this is going to be one thing that you are going to notice that is so much different about Darius Smith than anybody else we've had as an end rusher or as a pass rusher or an edge guy. It doesn't matter. Outside linebacker that's rushing the quarterback. Darius Smith has some of the most violent hands in the game. And you really need violent hands to be able to shed your blocks, to be able to get off of your blocks and get to the quarterback. So pay attention to it this weekend, because I think if you go back and watch some tape, compare him to Aiden, you're going to see a stark difference between what Darius Smith is doing off the snap. He's getting his hands going right away versus what Aiden does is totally different style. I think this is going to be a huge benefit for Aiden to learn some of these things from Smith. It's only going to make Aiden better next year. So pay attention to it this weekend. I think you guys are going to be really surprised at just how good Smith is at getting off and shedding and getting to the quarterback. He's going to have some fun this weekend. I can see it already. So this past weekend, against the Texans, there was a bizarre moment that happened, and I didn't catch this. And I read this last night, and I'm like, wait a second, what is going on here? So this is from Click to Houston, Aaron Wilson. And he said, Houston, it was a bizarre moment during the Texans' epic collapse on Sunday night against the Detroit Lions. In the fourth quarter of what ultimately became a 26-23 defeat, as the Texans failed to score a point in the second half and extend their streak of no touchdowns after halftime to 4 games, right tackle Tytus Howard was involved in a strange play that looked extremely awkward. Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud was under heavy duress and about to be sacked by the Lions defender Josh Paschal when he spun out of the tackle attempt and ran into Howard's midsection. During that sequence, Texans offensive tackle Tytus Howard appeared to intentionally strip the football away from C.J. Stroud, maybe an attempt to try to run with the football. Most interpreted the action as if Howard had somehow gone rogue and intentionally are intended to take off running to improvise with Stroud about to go down. I found that interesting. Howard ended up recovering the fumble, though, on the 3rd and 10 play, and the Texans punted to the Lions, which led to an opportunity for the game-tying 58 field goal from Jake Bates. I didn't notice that. Did you notice that?
Yes. And I watched it over and over and over again. He stripped the ball. He did not get a handoff from the quarterback. He pulled it. The ball ripped up. He tried to catch it. He couldn't. It fell down in front of him, and he ended up falling on the ball. But yeah, it was strange. I've never seen anything like that where your offensive lineman tries to strip your quarterback.
Yeah.
It made no sense because he wasn't going anywhere.
Well, thanks, Howard. Appreciate it. Appreciate you, buddy. Anytime. We'll be glad to take your help. All right, so I want to jump into this now. Jaguars offense. Now, of course, it's been a little difficult to find a lot of stuff, so I'm going to go a little off-key here with a comparison of contracts today. Something I noted yesterday that I wanted to talk about and bring it all to light. So here's a quick midseason breakdown for your Jacksonville Jaguars offense. The Jaguars entered the 2024 season with high hopes after a strong finish to 2023. Sounds muffled. In a playoff appearance. However, their offense has sputtered through the first 10 weeks, leading to a disappointing 2-8 record. So I want to dive into some, a little bit of a comprehensive analysis here of their performance, drawing on some data from various sources and comparing them to the Detroit Lions. So, Jade, good morning, buddy. Statistical overview here through week 10. Overall, the Jacksonville Jaguars points per game, 20.2. They are rated as the 21st team in the NFL, so 21st worst, I guess, if you will. The Lions, 31.6 points per game. We have the second most points per game. I thought we were first, but I guess we're second now.
Yep, we're second now.
Yeah. Total yards per game. Jacksonville's putting up 302.9. That's good for 25th in the league, whereas the Detroit Lions with 366.9 are 7th in the league. Third down conversion rate, which is huge for any team. Jacksonville at 33%. So just 1 of 3 tries are they doing something. That is good for 29th in the league. So bottom of the barrel. Lions, 43.56% conversion rates, good for 6th. Red zone efficiency. You know how we love efficiency. Jacksonville's 57.58% in the red zone. Is good enough for 12th, whereas the Lions' 63.89% is good enough for 5th. Now, you're probably thinking, well, there's only 6% difference there. I mean, how big is that really? It's huge. It really is. The red zone is obviously where you're going to want to score your points. And the fact that the Jacksonville Jaguars are a better team when they get to the red zone, which maybe we'll highlight even more tonight. We'll see what Tree says about it. But what I noticed is if you allow them to get into the red zone, they can do more damage. But they're also going up against one of the better defenses in the red zone. So I think it balances it, each other out there. Passing, Trevor Lawrence has 2,143 yards, 7 TDs, 8 interceptions, and a 61.6% completion percentage and an 83.8 passer rating, all per NFL.com. PFF grade of a 70.4. He's ranked 18th among all quarterbacks. Sacks, he's taken 23 sacks, which has him tied for 11th in the league. And I won't really go into rushing a whole lot, but Travis Etienne is 678 yards rushing, 4 TDs, 4.7 yards per carry. Total rushing yards for the team, just over 1,000 for the season, 1,077. They're good for 18th. Yards per carry, though, 4.7. So, they are getting a good balancing act, I guess, from their rush game, from the run game. They are able to move the ball at a pretty good clip. But here again, you're going up against a Detroit Lions defense that is one of the best teams against the rush. So right away, I'm going to tell you, I don't expect the Jags to do anything. I really don't. I think that this could be a game where they're held under 10 points. And that's kind of what I'm expecting. I'm expecting the Lions, faithful inside Ford Field, to just completely rock this place out and cause a lot of issues. But, they're going to be with their backup quarterback. They're not going to have Trevor Lawrence in this game. Key issues for the Jags. Jaguars are a -7 in turnover differential, one of the worst in the league. Trevor Lawrence has thrown 6 interceptions, and the team has fumbled 11 times, losing 4 of them. This has consistently put their defense in poor position and really stalled out their offense the entire season. Passing game struggles. While Lawrence has shown flashes in his potential, he's also been inconsistent and prone to turnovers. So the offensive line has also struggled in pass pro and have really contributed to some of Trevor Lawrence's difficulties at managing the pass game. And just like what Taylor Decker was saying, if we can't give Jared Goff a good pocket, if we can't give him a little bit of time to throw, not only is it, detrimental to the pass game, but he went a step further and said he might hit his hand on our helmet. How many times do we see Matthew Stafford bang up his hands, by hitting, our offensive line's helmet or an opposing, team's helmet? That not only does it hurt, but it can really do damage to your hand and affect your hand for the rest of that game and the rest of the season. Breaking a finger is pretty easy in this game. One of the bigger issues for the Jags is a lack of explosive plays. Jaguars rank low in big and explosive plays over 20 plus yards. This is really limiting their ability to score quickly and put pressure on the opposing defense. I do not expect that to change this weekend. Our defensive backfield not only has the two best safeties in the league, but Carlton Davis, as Eric pointed out yesterday, he's really playing at like a top 5 clip right now as far as cornerbacks over the last 6-7 games. So Carlton Davis is playing really well. Comparison to the Lions. Lions got an 8-1 record to the Jags 2-8. They are leading the NFC and the NFC North. It's really a stark contrast to where the Jaguars are right now in their season. Lions offensive efficiency. The Lions are second in points per game, 31.6, and 7th in total yards, 366.9 per game. Quarterback play, again, stark difference here. Jared Goff is having a resurgent season from last year where he's capitalizing on everything he did last season and more so this season. He has 2,080 passing yards, 16 TDs, and 9 interceptions, of which, get this, he only had 4 through week 9. Through 5 against the Texans. And, clearly that's an anomaly, right? It's not something that we expect to happen. I wouldn't even be surprised if Jared Goff doesn't throw an interception the rest of the season, to be honest with you. The Lions have a very balanced attack. The Lions have a more balanced offense. And with a strong running game led by David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs as both, equally impressive, both equally utilized. An effective passing attack featuring Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta when he's in, and of course, J-Mo now that he's back. We've seen players like Khalif Raymond have a huge game, not only in special teams, but also in the passing game. We've seen new additions, like Patrick, jump out and give this team some help when we've needed it. So we are we're not a team that is really missing any playmakers. We have playmakers everywhere. Everybody on this team is able to help this offense out. So with all that said, so far, Eric, what are your takeaways? What would you like to add? And then after this, I want to go into the contract questions because there's been a lot of talk about Jared Goff's contract, but I want to talk about Trevor Lawrence in his contract and kind of what I started with this offseason.
Yeah, I think the Jags are in some serious trouble this weekend. And Unfortunately for them, we're not going to be seeing Trevor Lawrence. We're going to be seeing Daniel Jones.
Mac Jones.
Yeah, Mac Jones. Excuse me. And Mac Jones, I mean, last week he threw for 139 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a QBR of 11.4.
Yeah, when did he get in the game?
He played the whole game.
He played the whole game last week?
Yeah. Yeah. And he played sparingly in 2 other games this year. So he's played in 3 games this year. He's 20 of 31 with a completion percentage of 64.5. Yeah. So it looks like this was the only game he threw any passes in because he had 139 yards. And that's for the whole season. So he must have came in for some kneel downs or something at the end of some other games. But he's been sacked 5 times, and he has a quarterback rating of 47.6. Jared Goff has a quarterback rating of 114 for the season. So stark difference. I know that, we haven't seen too much out of good old Mac Jones, but Mac Jones was a first-round pick by the Patriots just a couple of years ago, and for his career, he has a completion percentage of 66, and he has 46 touchdowns to 38 interceptions. So
say that again. Say that stat again.
So 46 touchdowns, 38 interceptions
for Mac Jones.
So he in 4 seasons, he has 8 more touchdowns than he has interceptions. He's an interception machine.
Yeah, but Max had some pretty good games too. So I hate to discount Mac Jones and his ability, and I know he's just been this castaway. He that's just what everyone thinks of him, and he's just a nobody anymore. But I mean, to be honest with you, he does present some difficulty, and I didn't go deep into him today. I'll look more at his stuff tonight, and I'll do something on him tomorrow. But we've had games. Now, I'm not saying that this is the same team, right? Because the Lions are not the same team. But we've had some games where we're going up against backup quarterbacks where we've been totally shook. And that's why you can never really discount any NFL, any professional player, because you just never know what they're going to do. You don't know what they're going to see. You haven't really seen a whole bunch of their tape from this season because it doesn't exist. You have one game really to go off of, which was the last game. And he got it sparingly, in a couple of other opportunities, but that can present challenges to any defense. Now, is Mac Jones really somebody we have to worry about on the ground? Probably not. Have the Lions done well with any mobile quarterbacks? Absolutely have. If we limit the Jaguars and make them one-dimensional, does that put the pressure on Mac Jones to have to put the ball up? It does. And do I feel confident that the Lions are going to be able to withstand that? I do. So I still believe, though, that if Mac Jones plays his best game, he can hurt us, especially with, the weapons they do have on this team. It's always possible. I guess I will say that. It's always possible. But I think the Lions are just going to be steamrolled. They're coming into the worst opportunity. You're going to Ford Field. We rarely lose at Ford Field anymore. We dropped 1 this year. I think we dropped 2 last year at home. And look, we don't expect to lose at home anymore, period. No. So obviously, like I said, the Lions are hosting the Jaguars this weekend. It's really shaping up to be, I hate to use the word interesting matchup because I just don't see much interest as far as what do the Lions really have to worry about. But then again, like I just said, I do believe that there's always a possibility for a team to do anything on any given Sunday. But based on, recent performance, I'm not as worried as I think we should, some people are trying to make it feel that way, I guess. Why are the Lions favored to win? We got a red hot offense. Go ahead. What do you guys say?
Listen, this is what it boils down to. The Lions are considered to be the very best team in the NFL, correct? The Jaguars are considered to be the worst team with the number 1 overall pick in the league. So you're putting the best team in the league versus the worst team in the league. What could happen, right? Well, if there's a miracle, the Jags could make a game of it. But it would take a serious miracle and some really bad bounces for it to be a game like what we just had against Houston against the Jags. And the Jags just had that miracle game against the Vikings. I don't think they can do it 2 weeks in a row.
So what was the biggest reason why they beat the Vikings?
Well, they didn't beat the Vikings.
Or why they kept that game so close? My apologies.
Well, what happened at the end of that game, so the very end of the Vikings game, their number 1 pick, what's his name? The edge that was taken right ahead of Hutch.
Walker?
Yeah. Trayvon Walker. He had a really bad penalty on defense that gave the Vikings a first down, and they were able to take a knee and end the game because they had stopped them on basically would have stopped them on 3rd down and forced a punt, with a little bit of time left where they would have had time to go down and try to kick a field goal to tie the game or get a touchdown to win the game. And he committed a penalty, and I think it was a personal foul, and just wouldn't shut his trap and kept going after the play and gave him a first down and let them basically just kneel down and take the game because they gave him a first down. So it's dumb stuff like that is plaguing the Jaguars right now.
So to key in on, why I feel like the Jaguars lost that game or lost the opportunity to win that game. So like Ed O'Neill said, the 3 red zone interceptions. So that's where I was going to go with that. And so here's what I have. I think these stats are fairly accurate. Don't quote me on the exact time, but first interception around the 10-minute mark of the 4th quarter. This one was it Byron Murphy that picked that one off? Anyway, it came as a critical point when the Jaguars are driving with a chance to take the lead. Second interception with just under 2 minutes left in the game. It was picked off, I believe, by Harrison Phillips, essentially ended any hopes of a Jaguars comeback. And then the third interception, the one that sealed the deal for the Vikings, I believe that was Cameron Bynum, intercepted Jones after the 2-minute warning, allowing the Vikings to run off the clock. So
this said he only had 2 interceptions.
I thought he had 3.
No, only 2.
Hold on here.
He's got 2 on the season unless somebody else threw a pass.
Hold on. See, that's what I said. Don't quote
Sam
me.
Darnold threw 3 interceptions. Mac Jones threw 2.
Yeah, scratch that. Second interception happened just under 2 minutes of the game. That was picked up by Harrison Phillips. That's the one that allowed them to pretty much seal up the game. So the point that I'm trying to make is when they threw the interceptions, right? When did Mac Jones fail? What led to the Jaguars' collapse? And that's it. You can't throw interceptions late in the game. You just can't, especially when you're knocking on the door. Can't do it. All right, next up. Why are the Lions favored to win? Offensive weapons. I mean, who else on in this league has this many offensive weapons? Even with Sam Laporta, doesn't really need to play this weekend. I think you just said that a few moments ago. You still have Amon-Ra St. Brown. You still have Jahmyr Gibbs. You still have David Montgomery. You still have Khalif Raymond. You still have Waymo Williams. You still have Brock Wright. You still have Shane Zielstra, even though Shane hasn't really done much this season. Brock, man, I mean, that dude is like ultra consistent. Like when you need him involved, he gets involved and he does great things with the ball. So the Lions are they're loaded. They're stacked. Any which way you look on this offense, we can find a way to beat you. Tim Patrick, Allen Robinson, it doesn't matter. Anybody that Jared Goff wants to get involved in this offense, he can and he will. I'm hoping that we get a chance to see a little bit more of Hendon Hooker in this game. I really hope that he gets the 4th quarter. I do not want to see Dan keep his guys in more than needed if this game does get out of control. The other reason why the Lions are favored to win, Jaguars have some defensive struggles going on.
Mm-hmm.
They're ranked like 30th in the league right now.
Yeah.
They've struggled against both the pass and the run, which plays right into the Lions' strengths. And just like I said in this last game, this last weekend, I don't care what you try to do. If Ben just calls the game, the way that he knows how to call the game, if you want to load up the box, great. If you want to blitz, great. If you want to drop back into a zone, great. I don't care what you do. We have an attack for each one of those styles of defense. You want to come up and blitz, we're going to do, delayed counters, delayed misdirection, delayed off, zone calls, and we're going to just run it right past you. If you want to drop back and cover the interior zones, that's fine. Outside zone it is to Jahmyr Gibbs. You want to drop back into a shallow shell? That's cool. We're just going to run right underneath you with Amon-Ra St. Brown, or we're going to dig over top you with Tim Patrick. If Sam Laporta was in, it would be Sam Laporta. Or you want to load it up and you really want to try to shut us down and bring everybody up. That's when J-Mo's going to go over top. So it just doesn't matter what you present to us with a defensive strategy. Ben Johnson has the ability to give Jared Goff options. And those options can be in on any play because of the way that the Lions set up their offense for success. They can pretty much run any offensive play out of the formation that they start with, whether it's 11 personnel or 12 personnel. We have so many different plays that can be run out of 11 personnel that all look the same. You just don't know what we're going to do. You have no clue. And the pre-snap motion doesn't give it away. They're using pre-snap motion, I think, the best of anybody in the league right now, and they win more ball games when they use more pre-snap motion. So we'll see what they do. I don't expect Ben Johnson to empty the tank this weekend, meaning use the entire playbook. I think he's going to start withholding a little bit in some of these games unless he really needs it. But here's what I would beg of Ben: like, go hot, go hard early, get us up early, and then maintain. Because at this point throughout the rest of the season, I don't think that there's much that we haven't used. And I think now you need to try to save at least a little bit for some of the bigger games that are coming up. Ed O'Neill, big super shout out, $4.99, supporting the channel as usual. Says, here's a stat under Dan Campbell, including playoffs. The Lions are 10-0 at home in the months of December and January since 2021. All great stat. Love it. Shout out to you, Ed O'Neill, Laporta TD, since we're talking a little bit of Laporta right now.
Back looking deep downfield, got a man wide open. It is Sam Laporta. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. 45 yards on the connection, and the Lions are back in front.
So just like he said, Ed O'Neill, look, this is home field advantage. Of course we're favored to win. We don't lose at home, just like Ed stated. Momentum is on our side. 7-game winning streak. This has been the most epic time to be a Detroit Lions fan, watching, what we're able to do. What are the Jaguars doing well? Well, not much. They're just not. What are the Jaguars? What do they don't do well? Well, just about everything else. Offense, defense, it's struggling big time, both sides of the ball. Their consistency is a problem. While they do have talented players like Trevor Lawrence or Travis Etienne or, Trayvon Walker, it doesn't really matter. Well, offensively, what do they have? They have Gabe Davis. Who's the other receiver? Why did I just forget his name?
Don't they have Leggett?
No. Who's the other receiver?
I don't remember.
You didn't write him down?
No.
What?
Let's see.
Hold on. I got it. His name's just escaping me. Christian Kirk. Brian Thomas Jr., the rookie. That's who I was trying to think of.
Oh, Christian Kirk on IR though.
Yeah. So those were their main contributors throughout the season. But Brian Thomas, rookie first round draft pick. Look, ceiling for this guy is huge, but he's got to have somebody to be able to get him the ball, right? You have to have an offense that is able to help him, right? Help them. So it's just their offense is just not clicking. It's just not clicking.
Yeah, he's tied for the league with Malik Neighbors for the most receiving yards. Also, Brian Thomas is for a rookie right now, 607 yards.
Dude's going to be electric. Brian Thomas' ceiling is huge, man.
Yeah, he's really good.
Love that kid.
I got a fun little fact for you. The Detroit Lions defense has intercepted a pass in 12 straight regular season games. It's the longest streak in the NFL since the 2014 Lions.
Hold on. That's not possible.
Yep.
We didn't intercept a pass in week 1.
Yeah, we did.
Who?
Let's go look.
Was it Brian Branch?
Yep. Pretty sure.
I thought we didn't get any interceptions like for the first couple of weeks.
Oh, we did. This says we had 12 of them.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought we weren't getting. I thought when we spoke earlier in the season that we didn't have any interceptions to start the season.
Let's see here.
While you're looking that up, that would be interesting. If we've really had 12 weeks in a row, that's incredible. But I thought for sure that we didn't have any in week 1 or 2. But anyway, next topic that I want to talk about is Goff versus Lawrence. So the big talk about contracts, and did the Jaguars make a big mistake? So the NFL has a very interesting way at evaluating quarterbacks, right? High draft picks, especially those with physical attributes, maybe a long Fabio hair and, the pedigree of a Trevor Lawrence, coming from a good school, often receive the two-worded, how do I put it? They often receive the label, the two-worded label, generational talent. Both Jared Goff and Trevor Lawrence were number 1 overall picks. Both their career trajectories and even their recent contract extensions have really sparked a lot of debate. And given Goff's resurgence and Lawrence's inconsistencies, I think it's worth examining whether the Jaguars made a costly mistake by extending Lawrence and if they should have stuck, get this, with Gardner Minshew. Oh, that's right. Kirby did get one against Stafford in the end zone. That's right, because they called us cheaters for blending.
Yeah, for blending in. And then game 2, let me see. I'm looking them all up right now.
So yeah, that I guess it would make sense. I just thought we didn't get one in week 1.
Player stats. Yep. 1 against Baker Mayfield. And then let's see. The Cardinals. I know we got at least 1 against the Cardinals. Might have been 2. Let's see. Yep. 1 against Kyler Murray. And the Seahawks, we definitely got 1 there.
Jade, what number do you want? Who do you want? Just tell me. And tell me what number your brother wants. Anyway, I think your stat's spot on. I forgot we got 1 against Stafford. Totally forgot.
In the whole NFL, that's the longest streak in the NFL since the Lions did it back in 2014.
And that was Glover Quinn, man. He was a man apart that season, man. And I think was Diggs on the team back then too? I think he was.
Yeah. Doesn't Kirby and Branch kind of remind you of that style of defense?
Dude, they're better. They're so much better.
Yeah, but I mean, remind you of that.
Oh yeah, 1,000%, 1,000%. All right, so where I'm going with this contract thing. So the beginning of the off season, we had some contract things going down, and Goff's was a little bit later, but later than expected, right? We expected it to happen a little bit earlier, but it happened. And then Trevor Lawrence, happened. And like I said the other day, I was at the exact same place I was yesterday when that news broke about Trevor Lawrence. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, they really just paid that dude and he hasn't done anything. This is going to blow up in their face, is what I kept thinking. Or I'll give you at the end of this, another way to look at it. But here we go. We're going to compare the contracts and performance. Jared Goff, 4-year extension, $212 million, $170 million guaranteed. What does the extension mean for Goff? Well, the extension at the time made Goff the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL behind Joe Burrow. It also made him the highest paid player in Lions history. Lions fans freaked out. Some of them, oh my God, what are we doing? Hendon Hooker should be the starter and blah, 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 blah. We should be taking a first-round pick quarterback, and Jared Goff's just not the guy. He's never going to lead us anywhere. He's not going to win any games. He's a bridge quarterback. Wow, were you wrong? Number 2, what does the extension mean for the Lions? Well, the Lions get to keep Goff with the Lions through the 2028 season, which now is in line with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell and Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown and all of the other heavy hitters on this team, Ali McNeil, so on and so forth. It also puts the expectation, though, on Jared Goff that he would lead this team back to the playoffs. That was the goal when they signed this deal. That's what we expected as Lions fans. Well, you're going to pay the man. Sorry, you pay him, he has to produce, right? That's what we expected. The question was, can he double down back-to-back seasons and put us back into a position of playoffs and possibly Super Bowl? I think he's right on track. Best season ever for the Detroit Lions. It would have to take an epic implosion for us not to do something right now. Now,
yeah,
the Eagles did it last year.
Yeah.
Epic implosion by the Eagles last year. I don't expect that to happen.
Right now, the way the league sits with the Lions at 8-1, the Detroit Lions are a 99.9% to make the playoffs.
Yeah. It's crazy. Michael Lukey says, Woodward Sports said that Hooker needs to save us after week 2. Oh, my God.
You hear that crap all the time.
I just don't understand it, man. And I'm not casting away all the people that dislike Goff, but don't be the peekaboo turtle, right? Just poke your head out and say, yep, I was wrong, and own it. It's okay.
Hey, they were doing that during that game, too.
Oh, yeah.
All those people that are Goff haters, I mean, as soon as they saw a couple of interceptions, oh, look at this. I
was right. I can only imagine what Tony was saying.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so third point here. The Lions, he led the Lions to a 12-5 record in 2023. Their first division title in 30 years, 2 home playoff victories, and an NFC championship appearance in his third season, where Jared Goff put us in the position to go to the Super Bowl. And it was a defensive epic collapse that kept us out of the Super Bowl. Yeah, there was a couple of things that happened on offense, but he did his job. You don't put up 30 points on a team and not expect to win. Goff did everything that was asked of him last year, and more so. I think that the goal was really just to win the NFC North, get into the playoffs, and hope for the best. Now it's like Super Bowl or bust. So from 21 to 23, Jared Goff has averaged 4,038 passing yards, 26 TDs to 9 interceptions per season, with a 66.52% completion rate and a passer rating of 96.23, all of which would put him in top 10 ranks across the league as an average. Critics argued that Jared Goff was a product of Sean McVay's system in Los Angeles, that he has proven his ability to lead a successful offense in Detroit, though. That, remember what Dan said, Jared, you're good enough for Detroit. Right? It's not the exact words he said, but you know what he said. Jared Goff has a decent amount of playoff experience, right? Having been to a Super Bowl with the Rams, here's a summary of his playoff stats. Games played, 9. Record, 5-4. Completion percentage in the playoffs, 60.7, a little lower than you want to see. Passing yards, 2,137. Again, probably a little bit lower than you want to see. Passing touchdowns, 8. Definitely lower than you want to see. Interceptions, 6. That can't be right. That can't be right. This stat can't be right. He's only thrown 8 touchdowns in the playoffs. Don't quote me on this. I think that some of these stats where I'm pulling them from must not be 100% correct, but it's close. But the reason why I'm throwing all this out is to compare it to Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence got a 5-year extension, $275 million, $200 million guaranteed, which was about $5 million more than Jared Goff, if memory serves me correct. $5 million more per year.
Yep.
Now, while Trevor Lawrence has shown some flashes of brilliance, right, Lawrence is also yet to lead the Jaguars to significant success. From 21 to 23, he's averaged 3,923 passing yards, so less than Goff. 19.3 TDs, which is 7 lower than Goff. 13 interceptions per season, which is 4 more per season than Goff. And a completion rate of 63.83%, which is about 3% lower than Goff. And a passer rating of 85.2, which is about 14 points lower than Goff. His performance, Trevor Lawrence, has been plagued by inconsistency, turnovers, a lack of explosives in the Jaguars' offense. Trevor Lawrence has also only played in 2 playoff games in his short career, 3 seasons, I guess, before this season. He played in 2 games. He has a 1-1 record. He completed 61.3% of his passes. He threw 505 yards over those 2 games, or 252.5 yards per game. He's thrown for 5 touchdowns and also 5 interceptions with a passer rating of 72.1. So the question is, was Lawrence's extension a mistake? Eric, what do you think?
I do think it was. And I think there's a couple other quarterbacks in the league that are in the same boat. Jordan Love is another one that I think was unproven, and they gave just a little bit too much money too quickly. I know a lot of people talk potential, but you have to see it first. And I think that's why it took an extra year for Goff to get his extension, because they could have extended him the year before, but they wanted him to prove it. They wanted him to see what he can do in the playoffs and not just give him the money right away. Now, would the Lions have saved a bunch of money had they done it the year before? I believe so. You know, they might have saved 5 or 10 million a year by doing it a year earlier, but now they have more of a guarantee. There's more of a feeling like they know what they have. And I don't think that the Jags did that. I don't think the Packers did that. And who are some of the other quarterbacks that got extended this year?
I don't even remember.
Dak Prescott. You know, Dak Prescott was 12-5 3 years in a row, but look what's happening this year.
He's got the Tony Romo effect, man. They always seem to find a way in, but then they bounce right out.
Yeah, whoever the agents are for these quarterbacks, my God, they're geniuses.
Well, they're capitalizing. So they're trying to capitalize. You know, I think that the Packers are absolutely held ransom over Jordan Love. I mean, I think that was intentional, that they're like, look, he's going to sit. He's not going to play. And that was after him having an incredible, you know, last half of the season.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of twisted their arm a little bit to say, nope, we're going to sit until you pay the man, because we're not going into another season without an extension. And they're probably going to pay for it, but we'll see. You know, I think that Jared Goff, in my opinion, is not so much a product of a system. Yeah, I think he works well within the system. I think that he definitely has a lot of offensive weapons around him, and he plays very well behind a good offensive line, just like any quarterback should. The difference with Jordan Love is he has all the physical attributes, the legs, he has a cannon for an arm, and he has a good system, and he's not able to always put it together. So there's a difference there. And I think, you know, the mentality of the game, you know, where I've said this before, like now the game is not about the physical side for Jared Goff. For the quarterback, it's like 90% mental, 10% physical. When you look at Jared Goff, he's not a physical specimen. He's tall, he's lanky. Doesn't mean he's not strong. He absolutely is strong, but it's mechanics. It's the delivery. It's how the fundamentals of how he operates that allow him to whip the ball as, you know, like one of the third highest ball speeds in the game, believe it or not. It's the mechanics. So when you look at him, it's like, man, he's a nobody. But contrary to that, it's just the mechanics that are helping him excel at such a high level. And it's all mental right now. What I mean by that is he stays calm. He doesn't get razzled. He gets hit, he gets up. He doesn't do anything different than what he knows that he has to do every play. He doesn't worry about what happened on the previous play. Short-term memory. Now he's got the memory of an elephant, if you will. You know, obviously, they say elephants have great memories, I think, but
and the legs of a giraffe.
The legs of a giraffe. There you go. A couple of points in the chat here. So there's a couple. Art made a good point. He said a couple good points. So Art Vandalay says people that think that those interceptions were all on Goff don't know football. Great point. You know, I would say 50-50 last weekend.
Yep.
Harpazzo says, I believe Madden makes people think that our quarterback is not good enough. And that's just not reality. Another phenomenal point. Jay-Z, I continue to say that throwing 5 interceptions doesn't take away the W, the number 3 longest interception-free streak in NFL history, or the most passes in a game without an incompletion. It doesn't. You can't penalize, Goff for having just one bad game, and it was a bad game, but he still won the game. He still put us back into the game. You can't tell me another $55 million quarterback that's done that, or $50 million quarterback, or a $60 million quarterback. Tell me, please. I'll wait all day. It won't happen. Here's another good point. Our Vandalay says, imagine telling a Lions fan 2 years ago, hey, we'll be 8-1. And people are still going to have an issue with our quarterback. Like, wake up, people. If you seriously got these big of issues with Jared Goff, then I would say it's not about football. I think it's something else, and I'm not even going to go down that road today. I don't think it's about football. I think that people don't like Jared Goff for another reason, and I'll let your imagination run.
Well, I think they don't like him because he's not a more mobile quarterback. Because when he does run, he looks medium, and he runs like a giraffe, and he just doesn't avoid. He's one of the guys that's smart enough to just dirt the ball, and that's what people get upset about. They want a quarterback they all want Jackson. They want people to run around like crazy. Michael Vick, they want the quarterback to be a Barry Sanders and to be a Joe Montana all at once, and it doesn't work.
That's because of Madden, man. I mean, you can build your own players, right?
Yeah, exactly. We got a couple super chats in there too, by the way.
Yeah, I just saw them pop up. So Ed O'Neill, $1.99 says, can you compare the Eagles' payroll with ours sometime? So I think that, that might be a great topic when we start the other channel up and we get all the guys in and we start covering the NFL. We'll do some segments like that. And trust me, we're going to need your help to come up with good topics and, good packed podcast for an hour. I think that we'll probably have more recorded stuff too, not always live just because of schedules and people are located all around the world. But Mike P also donated $5. I didn't see a message in there, but again, appreciate both you guys donating to the channel. Really, really appreciate it. Our Vandalay says Goff has amnesia, which is huge. He also knows what he is capable of. So he's not going to just try and win the game by himself and possibly cause more issues. Another great point, man. Like, a lot of you guys get it, and a lot of people don't. Here's what I think about this extension being a mistake. Number one, overpaid based on current performance. Lawrence's massive contract makes him one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, despite not yet demonstrating elite or consistent play. Conversely to that, Goff's success highlights potential overvaluation. Goff's performance on a more team-friendly contract raises questions about whether Trevor Lawrence's potential has been overvalued. Think about that for a moment. Jared Goff is winning, and he is doing incredible things, not only statistically, but franchise-wise, NFL league-wise. I mean, he's just knocking all the doors down. He's jumping over all the hurdles, right? And he's doing it at a lower cap value than Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
And Trevor Lawrence isn't doing anything right now. Point number 3, Jaguars offensive struggles. Even with Lawrence, the Jaguars offense has underperformed, suggesting the issues beyond just the quarterback position. Probably, right? There's probably more to this. Is it play calling? Are they missing some pieces? Are they not healthy in areas? Probably. But you know what? Jared Goff's dealt with the same thing. Play calling, maybe not so much. I would say at times, but like, Ben's a genius. He's doing great things. But the Lions have been up against it with injuries. They've had their own issues, with personnel. But here's where I'm going to go off the rails for a second. Should they have stuck with Gardner Minshew? The Gardner Minshew potential? Some argue that sticking with a more affordable and arguably equally effective Gardner Minshew could have been a wiser choice. There was some audio that I was going to bring in. I don't dare bring in the YouTube because it'll probably get smacked. But Richard Sherman kind of started me down this path when he was talking about Gardner Minshew versus Trevor Lawrence. And I'm like gobsmacked, like, whoa. Like, I didn't realize that Trevor Lawrence's stats compared to Gardner are damn near identical.
Mm-hmm.
And you could have had Gardner, for whatever he was making was dirt cheap. You do you mind looking up Minshew's contract real quick?
Sure, I can do that.
So Gardner Minshew had a brief but memorable stint with the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? He only played in 2 seasons before the Jaguars drafted Trevor Lawrence. Here's a little breakdown of his stats compared to Trevor Lawrence. So Gardner Minshew, 20 games played, 7 wins, 13 losses, or a 35% win rate. And he did play in 23 games overall, but he started 20. Trevor Lawrence, over that first 2 years of his career, started in 24 games, 24 wins, 35 losses, or roughly a 40.6 win rate. So just 5% more win rate. Completion percentage. Gardner Minshew, 62.9%. Trevor Lawrence, 59.6%. Passing yards. Gardner Minshew had 5,530 passing yards to Trevor Lawrence's 4,587. Passing touchdowns. Gardner Minshew had 37 to Trevor Lawrence's 20. Interceptions. Gardner Minshew had 11 to Trevor Lawrence's 19. Passer rating. Gardner Minshew 93.1 to Trevor Lawrence's 77. I was blown away when I started looking at these stats, and I'm like, holy cow. There was a promising start. I mean, Minshew really showed promise as a rookie in 2019. He stepped in for Nick Foles. He exceeded expectations. He displayed good accuracy, mobility, and just a knack for making plays. Limited success, despite some exciting moments. Minshew's time as a starter in Jacksonville was ultimately marked by some inconsistency. The team struggled to win consistently, and his limitations as a passer started to become more apparent. That's when they went out and drafted Trevor Lawrence. But he also was a fan favorite. Minshew quickly became a fan favorite in Jacksonville, thanks to his personality and, of course, the mustache and the never say die attitude. So here's the aha moment for me. You shit-can Minshew, who arguably was playing better than what Trevor Lawrence is now. Instead of shit-canning Lawrence, you extend the guy for one of the richest contracts in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing, Jacksonville? That doesn't make any sense to me. Now, here's the counter argument I would put on this. One, you've got Lawrence's age and potential compared to Jared Goff. So Jared Goff has had more time in the league. Clearly, you've seen what Jared Goff has been able to do over, the many seasons that he's already played compared to Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, it made sense to extend Jared Goff based on what he's done. He's only had 2 bad seasons. Rookie year on a crap team where he came in, the last 7 games of the season, I think it was, and his rookie year with the Lions where he had no team. Outside of that, Jared Goff's played pretty damn well. Has a winning record in the playoffs, a Super Bowl appearance, an NFC Championship appearance with 2 different teams. Of course you're going to extend a quarterback like that. Now, supporting cast and coaching and that around Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence has faced more adversity with coaching changes and a weaker supporting cast than Jared Goff has. Premature judgment. Look, it's early still in Lawrence's career. Maybe he'll live up to his potential. Maybe not. So maybe it's a little too early to definitively label Lawrence's contract a bust. The Jaguars definitely have overpaid, though, in my opinion. The only benefit to this is that they paid him now before Dak got done, right? And before next season when these contracts really just get out of control. That's the only benefit I see in what Jacksonville did by extending Trevor Lawrence. I do not believe the blonde Fabio is going to be anything in this, and not trying to be mean, but I feel like Trevor Lawrence is who he is, and we've seen what he is.
Mm-hmm. So you were asking about Minshew's contract. He signed a 2-year, $25 million deal that has $15 million fully guaranteed. And Minshew has a base salary of $11.8 million in 2025.
Do you imagine if they would have just stuck with Minshew and just keep building the team? And Jade, to answer your question there, so those stats were from the first 2 seasons. So Minshew's first 2 seasons, and then Trevor Lawrence's first 2 seasons as a starter. So I try to keep it, equal, not skewed. You know what I mean? So I wanted to compare exactly what they were doing, at the time that Jacksonville made the change, going out and drafting Lawrence, and I haven't even looked, really what Minshew's done since, but yeah, I feel like they made a huge mistake. They could have kept going with what they were working with Minshew and continued to build out their team and really build from the inside out, which is what I think now you're seeing. The Lions are the blueprint, right? The Lions are the model team now in the NFL. Believe that or not. Do you believe that, Eric?
One more time.
That the Lions are the blueprint as far as a model team in the NFL.
Oh, yes, 100%. You're going to see everybody following our blueprint, and people are going to try to figure out this. I don't know what it is between drafting, coaching, everything, this whole Moneyball thing that the Detroit Lions are doing. And I talked about it before the season started, that the Lions have their own Moneyball that they're playing, the way they draft, the way they coach, the way they play, the way they go for it on 4th downs, the way they run when it's 3rd and 16 and pick up the first down. I mean, there's stuff they're doing that other teams just have never done before. And to see other teams starting to copy us now, I truly believe that this is a copycat league and everyone is going to try. But I like that the Lions are a very original team in what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to add?
I think what I'm going to look up for tomorrow is last year Jackson won the MVP for Baltimore. Okay. And I'm going to compare him and what Jared Goff is doing this year right now. So I'm going to take what Jared Goff has done so far, divide it by 9, and extrapolate it over a 17-game season. And I'm going to see how those numbers compare to Jackson's MVP season of last year. I think that's going to be one of my topics for tomorrow.
Be interesting. Be interesting to see what you come up with.
Yeah.
There was something else I had, and I think I just lost it on my phone. There's some interesting stats that were coming up, but one of them was it appears that Jahmyr Gibbs is on his way to about 1,300 yards for the season.
Yeah.
So that was a good little stat this morning that they pulled out.
Yeah. Hey, before the season started, we were calling for Jahmyr Gibbs to have 1,000 plus 500, right? And we were saying that we both thought that Demo and Gibbs both had the potential to get 1,000 rushing yards on the season. Do you think now that they can both still hit 1,000?
I think so. We're talking regular season, right? I think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that they will. I mean, I'm not like you. I'm not putting bets on everything, but so I'll end with a couple of things. One, your injury report from last night. So Wednesday is really the first look at the injury report. Tank Bigsby, love Tank Bigsby, man. This guy can be electric. He was a guy that was on my radar for the Lions, in like the 2nd or 3rd round, in the draft. Had they not gone after, the players that they went after. But I love Tank. Great player. He didn't practice with an ankle on Wednesday. And Trevor Lawrence, obviously, we already know is ruled out. Everybody else is limited. So Tyson Campbell, Ezra Cleveland, Gabe Davis, Ernest Johnson, Blake Hance, Josh Hines-Allen, Brandon Scherf, Mason Smith, Brian Thomas Jr., Daniel Thomas, and Keelan Robinson was the only one that was a full participant for the Jags. On the Lions side, we know that Sam Laporta didn't practice yesterday, and everybody else limited or full participant. Taylor Decker, Malcolm Rodriguez limited. Broderick Martin back to full. Ifeatu Melifonwu back to full. Emmanuel Mosley back to full. I do want to touch on Broderick, Ifeatu, and Emmanuel tomorrow, and kind of give you my thoughts and some things that I'm hearing there. Today is the 14th, man. I can't believe how time is flying. It seems like the older you get, it's like the days just go by quicker. So for all of you youngins out there, especially my son right now that's in the chat, dude, just enjoy life while you're young because the days are so slow. When you get older, it's like you wake up, you blink, it's nighttime.
Especially with this time change. Holy crap. 3:00, it's getting dark already.
Well, I said this the other day when I was really, I'm still sick, but just going through the first 4 or 5 days where I really wasn't doing a whole lot, the days just drug on. Like, it's 7:00 at night and it felt like it was midnight to me. And I don't know why when you're sick, things really slow down. Probably because I wasn't doing a whole lot, but.
Yep.
So that was one thing I wanted to finish on was injury report. We'll obviously get another injury report today. Where did my report just go? A couple of things that Doug Peterson had to say. Some quotes and statements. He just said, we have to do a better job protecting the football. Turnovers have been killing us. And Trevor Lawrence just needed to be more consistent to make better decisions. He knows what he's capable of playing at a higher level. Well, he's not playing this weekend. We're not going to have to worry about it. And Doug Peterson, you better hope that you can control the football this weekend because this is a high-flying act that we're bringing back home. These guys love to get after the football, punching the football out. I think that the Lions are going to come away with a few turnovers this weekend. It could be a really lopsided game, but I'm not going to count this defense out just yet. Tomorrow, we'll get into more of the defense. We're going to talk about Josh Hines-Allen. We're going to talk a little bit more about the offense again tomorrow. Instead of breaking it down each way, we're just kind of filling in a little bit of everything today and tomorrow. Tonight, 7:30 to 8 p.m. start time. Special guest on tonight. Talking Football Podcast. Therese is going to bless us with his Jaguars takes. So we'll see what he says. I sent him a list of 25 different questions, topics that we're going to talk about. Probably won't get to all of them. I just really want to hear what's the future for the Jags and what he thinks about the Detroit Lions. And we'll get into that tomorrow. Final 30 seconds from you, Eric. What do you got to end off with today?
All right. So there's 2 words I want to talk about right now. Hope. Right now, the Jaguars are the opposite of the Lions. They hope to win another game. The Detroit Lions expect to win every game. Yesterday, Dan Campbell did an interview and he said we have 11 games left. So that would mean the 8 games of the regular season, the number 1 seed, 2 playoff games, and the Super Bowl. So the Jags are hoping, the Lions are expecting. Let's go Lions.
Love it. Hopium.
Yeah.
Keep the hopium alive. Look, the Jags aren't that far away. If they start changing out all of their coordinators and head coach again, that to me is the team killer. If you think about it this way, if the Lions would have walked away from Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes when we started 1-6, we wouldn't be here right now. Who knows where we would be? I've said it for decades of watching this team. The one thing that really hurt us every single year or every few years is we are constantly changeover with the coaching staff. You're never going to get anywhere unless you stay consistent. You have to give it 4 seasons. I know for a lot of teams, they don't do that. They just kind of cash it in early and walk away. And maybe there's other extenuating circumstances going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. But man, if you just stick with a little bit of consistency, I think that things would end up working out for the best. But at the same time, I think you have to look at contracts and the players that you have on the team and your draft ability and how, what type of draft picks you're getting, because that also is folded into the whole mess, right? If you have a very short window to try to get good and get good quickly, don't expect to get good. If you want to do it the right way, you're going to do it the way that the Lions just did it. They broke it all the way down and then built it all the way up. And now they're just fitting pieces in the puzzle where it makes sense. And then they're backfilling with depth, you know, and they went after depth. If you notice, the Lions went after depth early. They didn't just look for immediate starters. They didn't cash in all of their chips and move up into the draft, you know, and only pick first, second, and third round early. No, they found good quality depth guys that they knew would develop over the next couple of seasons. So for all those people saying, oh, Broderick Martin was a wasted pick, no. The dude is going to be a very integral depth piece that could potentially be a starter. And it's that depth that we need, that you're seeing right now, that is benefiting this team when we lost almost all of our big-time playmakers on defense, not DBs, frontline. Now those depth guys are working, aren't they? Without them, we're not doing what we're doing right now. And I don't think people see that all the time. All they see is the big name, right? The big lights, the bright, flashy things. Sometimes it's the things that are less desirable or less flashy in life that matter more. You know, I guess that's the difference between being a materialistic person or maybe you're not. Sometimes the things have more value to you that really have no value to anybody else. And our depth right now is saving this team. So kudos to the Lions, man. They're doing it the right way. We'll see you guys in the morning tomorrow. Have an excellent day. Jade, love you too, buddy. And you know what? Everybody in the chat, everybody that shows up every day, I can't thank you enough for everything that you do. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, turn notifications on, because the only way that you're going to get notified about the pop-ups, the only way you're going to get an opportunity to win is if you participate. Raffle tickets are done. I think they're still open, but they're done. I'll be back here at noon doing all of the raffles. So if you'd like to join, you don't have to be there to win, but if you want to join, you can. We're going to get all the raffles done, and then we'll be back again at 8 o'clock tonight. So good work today, Eric. We'll see you back later on, and everyone else have a wonderful day. Go Lions, go One Pride. Peace out.
Every day, thousands of people are discovering Uper Lights, Michigan's newest, funnest rock to go find on the shores of the Great Lakes. Don't go out with just any light. Try the Convoy C8 from uperlights.com. It's guaranteed for life, and you'll find all the ones everyone else misses. Quality UV lights that are perfect for Uper Lights, with prices starting as low as $20. Please make sure to visit uperlights.com for all your UV flashlight needs, with the best guarantees on the market. Just what you wanted and not what you didn't. The best quality, the best guarantees, and the best UV flashlights from uperlights.com.